you take. We are live again, myself and Dr. Alan Chen. We are going to actually have a little bit lighthearted, more of a conversation. We're going to try to help people feast smart, basically. Enjoy your Thanksgiving and make sure that you'll not derail your weight loss progress or make it so you break your habits that you have currently, and then all of a sudden, start regaining weight. So I personally have been at the weight loss game for 8-9 years, just to give everybody a grasp. Best-selling weight loss author. I've lost 100 and some pounds myself. We have coached thousands of people, not thousands of people at the same time, but we have coached thousands of people over the years, and we have a pretty good methodology for how our clients do enjoy the holidays without regaining. And as a matter of fact, most of the clients that join this, which is our holiday 6-month package. Most of the clients that join this do, in fact, lose weight during the holidays and keep off the weight they've lost and then lose more weight. We've had very, very, very good success with especially dealing with this, because the biggest problem with the holidays is that people, once the season starts, it's not the actual holiday. It's the days in between that get filled, and you're exposing yourself to foods that may cause other cravings. Like, for instance, if you grab a small Snickers, like the little bite-sized Snickers out of a candy dish at work because it's Halloween, and you do that first thing in the morning, you are statistically more likely to eat about 25% more calories that day. Even though you've just ingested 50 calories of a small Snickers bar, that Snickers bar first thing in the morning will cause a glycemic response in your body, which will increase your hunger and oftentimes make it so you are craving sugar, and therefore your portion sizes tend to be bigger when you feel hungrier. Our entire coaching premise is based off of being hunger free and happy, meaning like we try to make it so you are as satiated as humanly possible. And does that mean hunger free? Most of the time. Like for me, I don't get hungry. Like I do not ever feel serious hunger at all anymore, which is awesome, because when I do get very hungry, I tend to eat everything in my pantry. But the idea behind this is like we take the science and biology behind hunger, and then we extrapolate it to physical, in real world habits that the person can build, such as hydration, sleep, stress relief. Like all of these things have a very serious, important role to play in physical hunger, whether it's either the production of ghrelin in your stomach, the issue where some people get insulin resistant, and oftentimes with insulin resistance comes leptin resistance, and people don't talk about that much at all anymore. But also, just the little stretching out of your stomach is a big thing. And the way hunger works, and Alan, you can tell me if I'm wrong about this, but the way hunger works is like when you eat food and it starts filling your stomach up, your stomach has what's called, basically in layman's terms, stretch receptors, right? And the stretch receptors are, what's this? Oh, did she, the crazy girl that I refused coaching with. Okay. Anyway, it is what it is. As a matter of fact, nobody gets to say that. Anyway, but like stalker crazy, fucking weird, But anyway, bye. But the idea behind it is that your stomach stretches out. So your stretch receptors then send a message to your fat, basically, like your fat cells. Your fat cells then produce leptin. Leptin goes to the brain. The brain then tells your pancreas to shoot out insulin. Insulin then takes care of the blood sugar you have, and then it goes along those routes where now you feel satiated, and that process takes about 20 minutes, which is another thing I'm going to talk about here for Thanksgiving. Here's my suggestion for Thanksgiving, Alan. Please jump in anytime you want, but
Sure.
I suggest that you have your day kind of planned out. If you have problems with food, if you tend to overeat, if you have a hard time saying no to seconds, thirds, fourths, that sort of thing, my suggestion is have an idea of what you're going to do the entire day of Thanksgiving. So that is 2 days from now. And what I suggest to you is you wake up and before your midday, because most people have dinner early on Thanksgiving. I don't know why, but they do. But before your midday, try to be 3/4, if not all the way through your normal allotment of hydration. And I suggest that be about a half of an ounce to an ounce per pound of your ideal body mass. So if you weigh 165 pounds and you're a 5'9" adult male, you should have 165 ounces of fluid in before the meal, right? Now that sounds like a lot, but if you have problems with food, you have problems with food. Now, if you're a 5'9" adult male, 165 to 190 ounces is what you should be shooting for kind of anyway, depending on your physical activity level, no matter how big you are. Because if you're a 400-pound, 5'9" male, I don't want you taking in 400 ounces of fluid because you're going to blow your fucking kidneys up. And you're going to strip your body of very, very serious nutrients that it needs, okay? But that said, you should also start your day. You shouldn't fast until Thanksgiving. That's a huge mistake that most people make. They're like, I'm not going to eat anything until I get Thanksgiving dinner, so then I can, pack it in, right? That's a very bad idea because normally that leads to a binge setting almost. Like you end up binging upon food, right? So the reality of the situation is that when people don't eat before a big meal, they vastly overeat at that meal, and they eat very much faster too, which is a big issue. Also, we're going to get to that in a second. Also,
Yeah.
So I do suggest steak and eggs, full hydration, and then when you get to the meal, I suggest you get your plate of food, you eat 75% of it, drink 20 more ounces of fluid, and wait 20 minutes. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, whatever you're around. And if you are still hungry after that 20 minutes, eat whatever you feel like you're good with. Because now you are not going past your satiety cue. But if you continue to eat and don't stop, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get up from that table feeling like you're about to explode.
Yeah.
And the last functional portion of this, I want you to eat whatever you want to eat for that meal, as long as you're not overeating to the point where you don't feel well. But I do think you should start the next day off in the same way you started that day off. Make sure you get your hydration. Make sure you start your day with all protein and fat only. So thoughts on that?
Yeah. Let's start with the whole fasting thing. So I actually, well, let me preface by saying this. The last 3 Thanksgivings I've worked, so I've been able to avoid having large tables of food in front of me. So it's okay.
Right.
But if, the whole fasting thing, especially on a holiday dinner or some special occasion dinner, I would not have that be the first time you try it. Because that, like you said, you could lead you to binging. You have to be sort of used to it and skilled at it to control what you're actually intaking. Because, you do run the instance where you have that one meal a day and then it ends up being 6,000 calories. And that kind of negates what you were trying to do in the first place. So I would only try that if you've already been doing it consistently and you sort of know how your body reacts to it. And, you can, again, plan ahead of time. And there's a saying, if you fail to plan to fail kind of thing.
Yep.
Like you have to think about this in advance. You can't just like wing it the day of.
Right.
Especially with the hydration thing is really, really important. I would also add electrolytes, some mineral salt. They have electrolyte packs out there. Some of them are kind of expensive, but like regular Redmond salt that you can get on Amazon is very good. A little bit of that in your water with your hydration will actually help you retain it better, and it'll be better for your kidneys. We tend to stigmatize salt these days that the deleterious effects of sugar. Those deleterious effects, it's being blamed on salt rather than sugar. So we actually are a pretty underhydrated society as a whole, not just the fact that we don't take in enough water, but also we don't take in enough electrolytes to supplement that water. So there's that piece to that, because don't forget, you guys sweat, and when you taste your sweat every now and then, it's salty. So we actually sweat salt. So you have to be able to replenish that. And obviously depends on your activity levels and how hot it is where you are, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, these things like, it could take a little bit of, it takes planning for sure. And now is the best time to plan for your Thursday Thanksgiving and what you're going to do. It's it's a great way to at least start getting on that mental pathways as to like what
Mhm.
should I be thinking about, what kinds of things should I be eating for, what should I be looking for. Um, Stay away from all of the stuff that's being bought by grocery stores. I try to, oh, you know what a really popular thing that's done in hospitals is that they bring in donuts as
Yeah.
treats for the nurses, and I'm
Wow.
like, oh boy, no, don't do that. That's going to make
Yeah.
things a lot worse. Like you said, it's going to decrease your energy levels, and then also it's
Mhm.
going to cause everybody to eat more later on the day. So are we really helping them by giving them
Yeah.
that? Like, is that really a good thing? Um,
And it
and
happens in hospitals. That's always weird.
yes, exactly. That's the wild part. So like whenever I buy food for my staff, I try to get like breakfast tacos from like the
Yeah.
steakhouses, like stuff like that. It's expensive, but it's better. I'm actually doing something proper. And yeah, by the way, all the stuff that I'm just said and what Alan Roberts said just now, I learned zero of that in medical school. I had to learn all
Mhm.
that on my own. So uh you know, think twice about what the kind of nutrition advice that you get from doctors, and
Mhm.
where they're getting their sources from. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I had to like erase from my head, especially the salt and sugar thing, where I was
Mhm.
just like, huh, that makes a lot of sense. I had to like kind of think about things and like see like does that actually make sense? So I had to go through a whole mental process to kind of get myself out of that mentality. It's crazy that like a lot of people still blame salt for a lot of things that shouldn't be
Yeah.
blamed on, but it is what it is.
And I think that that's amazing, and how you treat your staff is much better than just giving them sugar, because that's just insanity to me.
Yeah.
The, you know, I think that people like miss how easy it is to overeat on stuff like that, and I think that that's a huge portion of the problem. And I always tell my clients, I don't care if you have a dessert on Thanksgiving, you shouldn't care either. Like, it should not be something like you should allow, like, give yourself permission to have this shit, because then you avoid the whole, first of all, social stigma. Because if you are trying to diet at Thanksgiving dinner, your family's going to give you a hard fucking time, and you're going to end up eating it anyway, and you're probably going to end up eating more of it than if you allowed yourself to know, hey, I'm just going to eat today. I'm just going to eat this. Now, I don't mean that people should like overeat. You should still be mindful about your portion sizes, and I gave you the portion size drill. We actually call that the 75-20-20 protocol in our coaching. But the weird aspect is that we live in a society where we make sure that people feel that they need to engorge themselves. Like, people talk about their Thanksgiving pants and stuff like that, and I do think that that's a problem, because you know it can be a huge issue where you eat that way one day, and then for people that have binging disorder like I do, if I overstuff myself one day, the chances of me binging the next day are enormous.
Yeah.
Like, because it's that overfull feeling that even though it's painful, you do. Like, I always equate it to, like, you ever get like a cut in your mouth, and you always end up putting your tongue on the cut in your mouth, like
Yeah.
you bite your cheek and you end up, because you're like, ow, that hurts, but you keep doing it. That's what it's very similar to, just on a much larger scale. Like, you hurt yourself by eating too much, and then you get into a cycle of doing it, and because it's self-harm and pain, and for some reason a lot of times that happens.
Yeah.
But I also suggest that you do not take the leftovers home with you, like, necessarily. Like, if you're going to cook a huge feast, make sure to try to disperse as much of it out of your house to people that you can. I do suggest that if you make desserts, they should be made in smaller portions, a portion size apiece. If you have 4 pies and 4 people, 4 pies are likely going to get eaten, by the 4 people. Let's see this here. And by the way, you guys start asking questions. We will absolutely be here to answer. We got about 15 more minutes. The salt thing is because the average American diet is full of UPFs. Thus, most people get more sodium than they should. Sugar as well, though. But the thing about that is what he was talking about. And thank you for reminding me, because I actually forgot about that.
Mhm.
It's weird how we have demonized salt, but sugar is the addictive substance we market to children. Because just as Alan was saying, you have a biological mechanism to disperse excess salt. Like, and the myth about a high salt intake being bad for your blood pressure is complete bullshit. I mean, and I will tell you this with the doctor sitting here. Do you know what they do if you have a heart attack and stuff like that? They give you fucking saline. Okay, saline is salt water, motherfuckers. Like, they flush your system with sodium. So the same people the same industry that tells you that sodium is bad for you, if something bad happens to you, that's what they give to you.
Yeah.
And it's just demonized because we can't demonize sugar because for some reason they pay enough money for us not to, and we demonize things like saturated fat and sodium, which wildly are both things that are found in red meat.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Hey, I'll give another little tip. It's like kind of a mental trick. So I learned this actually on Secret Eater. So there's out of sight, out of mind is huge when it comes to eating. So, for example, if you buy a shitload of Doritos, junk food, Cheetos, Oreos, whatever, and put it in your house and allow it to be seen, people are going to eat it. Like you were saying before, the 4 pies, if you bring the 4 pies to the dinner table, it's going to get eaten because people are looking at it and they're smelling it and they're like, oh my God, they start the cravings start kicking in your brain.
Yep.
So that's a huge part of that. One trick to use, especially when it comes to these kinds of events, holiday dinners and the like, using colored containers rather than see-through containers.
Yeah.
They did studies on this, by the way, or they've done some anecdotal like experiments with this, where they took those like candy bowls that you can sometimes see in like desks of in front of offices. They used a colored bowl and then they used a clear bowl, and they found that the clear bowl got cleared much faster than the colored bowl because you can't really see what's in the bowl in the color bowl as easily as you can in the clear bowl. So it's something to kind of just think about in your,
that's really good. It's smart.
Yeah. Just in your everyday house, like how you go about, what your containers look like. And just being aware of, be cognizant of the fact that it could happen to you. I mean, it's just a lot of these things are very subconscious. We don't realize that we're eating more a lot of times. And, that's part of the trickiness behind nutrition in general is it's the kind of the mind games that our brain plays on us. So you kind of have to know the game and strategize around it.
I love that, and because that's such a true thing. I also will tell people, and by the way, it's not like my app and stuff I'm involved in. It does not have a calorie counter, but do remember that those things are guesses. They're not only are they guesses, they're kind of wild guesses. And I always use the chicken thigh as an example. 2 chicken thighs that weigh exactly, let's say they weigh exactly 200 grams. 2 chicken thighs weigh exactly 200 grams instead of going in ounces because there's leeway, but they weigh exactly 200 grams, right? They can have radically different fat content, hydration content, and protein content. And I'm talking 30% or more. Like if the one chicken thigh has a lot more fat on it than the other one does, and they weigh the same, that means its content of fat versus protein is much higher. Fat is 9 grams per 9 grams of it's 9 calories per gram, and protein is 4. Although we've just found out that protein is actually like 3.3 or something like that. Like when they actually did the testing over, but it can have a radically different caloric makeup and that sort of thing. So I oftentimes tell people that they should view these things as a way of making sure that you're staying in a realm. Whenever we have people use the calorie tracker on our app, we try to tell them, you should really try to memorize that number anyway. Like, okay, I'm eating 200 grams of chicken breast, and I'm going to guess I'm going to guess it has X amount of calories. And then you check it from the calorie counter to see what the calorie counter has, right? Because that way you're teaching yourself this information. Just having a phone and having the app is not necessarily good enough. You should be teaching yourself the information. Same thing, like I would love to. I'm working on something where it would show the gluten-free status of something, but it would also show the ultra-processed food rating of it. Nice. And I think that is where people more should lean toward, because honestly, the ultra-processed foods are what drive obesity way more than calories, if you ask me. It's almost a direct correlation. I know a few people that are bigger when they eat mostly whole foods, but I often still wonder about them, the ultra processed foods that they do still take in on a daily basis. I wonder how much that affects their actual hunger for the non ultra processed foods, right? For the whole foods. But ultra processed foods, if you ask me, that's why we have an obesity epidemic. That's why we have a chronic illness epidemic. To a large degree, these people are addicted to these foods, and knowing that a food like the actual ultra processing content of something is very good. What were you gonna say?
But by the way, I ran into one of your episodes of when Lane Norton was talking about UPFs.
Yeah,
I'm so disappointed I missed that. I was just like, damn, you're on a roll, by the way. You're on fire. But yeah,
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, no, clearly not. I'm not either. But and he's deleted some of my comments too, just trying to like have some kind of discourse. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I guess I guess I don't matter. I'm a nobody.
He'll try to go, like, he doesn't actually try to go back and forth with me because he knows I hate him personally too, because he's a horrible fucking human being. But also I love debunking him and making him look like a fucking idiot. Yeah. But he's going to delete your comments because you have doctor next to it. Like, I mean, and he can't have that. With me, he can say like, well, I'm a PhD and you're a nobody, even though I'm right, but how he was talking about ultra processed foods, like that, I just found that very disingenuous, where he's talking about like the lowest quartile of people that ingest ultra processed foods compared to the highest. But what about people that don't ingest any? You know what I mean? Like that's the thing, and there are studies out there. I always reference the Brazil study. The Brazil study shows, and it was a large study done with people over a 6 to 10 year period with a mean of 8 years, that when they tested these people's cognitive ability after averaging 20% ultra processed foods as their total caloric intake, just 20%, that they showed a 28% reduction in cognitive, 8% or 28% increase in cognitive decline, and a 25% increase in executive function of the brain decline. And the second one is even worse. Cognitive is like you kind of have like, you're not necessarily with it. Executive function, that shit is like problem solving and self-startedness and critical thinking and logic skills and shit like that. And to anybody that tries to lower the threat that these food-like products, I should even say, have on society, you're kind of fucked up. Like, I mean, I find that he oftentimes just makes arguments to try to be the one that's arguing it, and then call people stupid and everything like that. Like, even though clearly wrong. And I will say this: he knows who the fuck I am. And how you doing, Lane? I know you watch all my shit, by the way, because I've seen him react to a few. He especially got pissed off when I called him out where he compared Ozempic to berberine, which is completely fucking ridiculous. If you were going, because he was like, Ozempic has a 15% weight loss after and he said 15% weight loss, and then he was like, and berberine only has like a 6%. Well, two things. One, you're comparing a 68-week study to a 12-week study, 68 weeks for Ozempic and 12 weeks for berberine, but also you're comparing the two, which have two completely different mechanisms, is completely intellectually dishonest. Yeah. If you want to compare berberine to something, compared to metformin, they have almost exactly the same mechanisms when it comes to AMPK, and they literally have, like, they perform the same way. The only difference is that normally, especially for women with PCOS, berberine is much more effective because it has no side effects compared to metformin, which metformin side effects are brutal. But also, if you do just a berberine study for 68 weeks, I wonder if you'd get to 15%, because it does, in fact, help take away food noise. It helps take away sugar cravings and stuff like that. So when people do stuff like that, I feel the need to call it out, because very realistically, it's like you're comparing apples to oranges and pretending like, and then standing on a pedestal like you did something, right? Yeah. And I had forgotten he existed until he tagged me about like 6 months ago, and now I'm on him because we didn't like each. Like we're old school YouTube fitness guys, and I do not like him. I've talked to his ex-wife after the shit he fucking pulled. Oh, and shit. I think everybody that watches my channel knows that my wife is the center of my entire fucking universe. And when I hear men mistreating their wives, I do not take that lightly or kindly. And he was very, very horrible to his ex-wife while she was at home taking care of his special needs child and pregnant with his next child. He was out cheating on her, And I've called it out every time because that makes you a shitty fucking person. And I had let it go for a long time, for years. And then out of nowhere, he tagged me saying like, Alan Roberts said I would cripple myself. And here I am deadlifting 700 pounds. Like, you're still a fucking idiot. Like the woman you left your wife for, you married. And then as soon as she got her green card, she dropped your ass because you're a dumb fuck. So you did that to your children for no fucking reason. If you and your ex-wife can't work it out, fine. But you did that to your children.
Yeah.
For no fucking reason. And anyway, I don't want to get on the whole topic about him, but it bothers me when people do stuff like that. Like they try to diminish ultra processed foods. Like the USDA does that. The USDA in 2022 conducted a study, paid for and conducted a study, which, by the way, this is not a study technically, because they did not set out to discover anything. They set out to prove that you could have a diet that was over 90% calories, ultra processed food, and have it be healthy. That is not science. That is absolutely not science. When you put in a study to try to prove one side of something, that is not the gathering of intellectual information. That is propaganda.
Bias.
And our government does it. Yeah.
Yep.
Which
Absolutely.
is wild. So anybody have any questions for the doctor or myself? And he will not give medical advice over the internet. Do not say, hey, my knee hurts when I squat. What should I do? Because if he would give that to you, he would lose his license. And if I would give that to you, I would be completely out of my fucking depth because, very frankly, I can't fucking see you. I haven't examined you. And you just saying your knee hurts could be fucking billion things.
Yeah.
So
it's also... it's also just not a good idea. No, actually not really. Not on the internet, at least. But it's also just not a good idea to do that on the internet as a whole. Don't forget the internet's forever. So the folks that post like their mental health issues online for everybody to see, don't do that. Like it's not going to end well for you, especially when it's something that you really don't want people to hear in public. Like don't do that in general. Like schedule, do it offline. It's always better that way anyway.
Well, it's wild to me that people will do that. Like, first of all, you come to me and say your back hurts, what exercises should you do? If I were to all of a sudden shoot out an exercise, why would you ever trust anything I ever fucking say again? I have not asked. If I have not asked a follow-up question, if I have not asked anything like that, that means I'm just shooting from the hip. But even then, without actually, like, it's your fucking spine. I mean, I rail on the healthcare industry a lot because I believe that I believe the healthcare industry should not be treating chronic illness. I believe that is a lifestyle thing. I don't believe that doctors in the form that we have them now come out of med school, at least, or even come out of residency equipped to treat properly chronic illness. Nothing shows me. Right? People like you and Sean Baker and other doctors that have educated yourselves about nutrition and health and lifestyle, you guys are the hybrids. You're actually who the medical industry should be looking to, although you guys are ostracized and basically seen as evil. But you're who the medical industry should be looking towards, right? But most of the time they shouldn't be. However, if you have an acute injury, that is what the allopathic healthcare industry is designed for. If you've hurt your back, go to somebody like Alan. He's a radiologist. We'll take some x-rays. We'll see what the fuck you've done. If there's no damage to your spine or there's no bulging disc or anything like that, then we can go from there. But it's like asking over the internet because you don't trust doctors. I'm happy this came up because I wanted to make it clear to everybody. If I break my arm, dude, I'm going to the hospital and having them set that motherfucker. Okay. Like, I'm not gonna be like, I'll eat some kale. It'll be fine. That's not fucking happening. Right. But if I all of a sudden start developing diabetes or something like that, I'm taking care of that shit myself. That's where we're at. Now, this is a question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're educated to do so. Like, unfortunately, for many other people, their default mechanism is to go see a doctor, and so that's not. It's unfortunately they're not seeing the forest of the trees in that regard. Like, you're right. Like, we do a shitty job with chronic disease, and right now the stigma is like, if you're suddenly developing symptoms of diabetes and you saw your blood sugar is like 300, our first instinct is to go to the doctor. So that's sort of where we're at, and that's how we got here.
So we got a couple things we can question before I let you go, because I know you got your 2 o'clock
Yeah, no
to
worries.
do. But isn't the USDA the same organization that put out the food pyramid, and they're trying
I
to
think it was a
make
combination of a
population
bunch
health?
of people. Yeah, it was a combination of a bunch of them, USDA and a couple others. But anyway, the food pyramid's not really a thing. They went to the plate, I think, with
In
the
my
quarter.
place,
Yeah, the my
yeah.
plate, and I think they're doing something else. Like something else came about
Well,
recently.
they're releasing something, I believe, in March.
Yeah,
Something new. But my plate is basically the US is basically still the food pyramid.
yeah.
And to be totally honest, the food pyramid is how you know the government's completely corrupt.
14,
It
what was it? 14 servings of carbs or something like that. Like what?
7 to 11 servings of grains.
Oh, geez.
It's a recipe for diabetes, and there's no way that and they were advised that it would cause that, and they ignored the advice and put it out anyway. And all of a sudden, oh my God, we have a epidemic of diabetes and obesity and shit like that.
Yeah.
So if nothing else is going to tell you that the government is not wholly corrupt, they basically led to the chronic illness epidemic we're having now. And like, I can go on forever about that. We can sometime if you would like to. So
Sure.
this next one, thoughts on shingles and pneumonia vaccine.
So these are vaccinations that are usually put out or are usually recommended later in life when you get to like the 50s, 60s age. In the USA, probably it's not completely necessary. I have heard of issues where people take the shingles vaccine and they actually get the shingles, which, you know, make that make sense. Yeah, I mean, it's not, I don't, okay. So I guess like, here's a good sidebar to the question. Would I do it? No. If it were recommended to me, I wouldn't. I already don't get I haven't gotten the flu vaccine in like 3 or 4 years. I think it's now my 3rd year actually that I haven't gotten it. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, it's we're at the point where my healthy distrust for the government has now overtaken my issues or my thoughts on vaccinations lately. There are some scenarios, especially if the particular disease that it's supposed to prevent is very endemic to the area, but that's a case-by-case basis. But in this case, in the United States, I don't think it's totally necessary. Again, I don't know your entire health history. It may be beneficial to you. So like, just take it with a grain of salt. I'm just telling you what I would do. And that doesn't necessarily mean
exactly
what you should do.
So my thoughts on it, by the way, are very simply this. I will not ever take another vaccine under any fucking circumstances until, and I'm not saying I wouldn't, but until they remove the liability shield, I'm never taking it.
Yeah,
like if they are so safe and effective, why they need a liability shield? You know, because that's the thing. Like, our government shouldn't even be able to decide that. If you ask me, like, the government should not be able to decide what if somebody harms you, they should not be able to say no, you can't. You know, we're protecting them. Yeah. They should always choose the side of the people. They should always, like, that's a huge problem that we have right now, is that the government is almost wholly owned by big business, and big pharma is the biggest business. The healthcare industrial complex. People talk about the military industrial complex ruling the world. You guys are on crack. The healthcare industrial complex makes the military industrial complex look like a fucking child.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Even if you just look at America, we spend about $1 trillion a year. I think it's going to be like something like $1.1 trillion on our military in America, which is an astronomical motherfucking number.
So,
but this year we're going to spend $5.8 trillion on healthcare. And tax wise, if you want to break it down, like, well, one is tax driven and one is like out of pocket. $1.9 to $2.2 trillion in taxes goes towards healthcare in a year or two. So just even tax burden wise, it's more than double. But if you look at the burden that they put us under, and it's mostly America. But again, America has one of the largest GDPs, and that's why this is. We are 4% of the population, and we use 70% of the drugs in the world. To try to pretend we are not massively over medicated is laughable. It's not even in the realm of like should be taken seriously,
Right.
because we are we are 4%, and we use 70% of the pharmaceuticals in the world. That's insane. And
Crazy.
especially for people like me, I'm on one pharmaceutical. I am on testosterone. I am on testosterone cypionate, 175 milligrams every week. That's it. And oftentimes I've recently gotten down to 150 because I didn't feel the need, right? But I am a 50. I'm going to be 55 this summer. I don't know why I always make sure I'm 54. I don't know why I always age myself. I do that I'll turn 55 in July, and right in August I'll be like I'm going to be 56 next year. But I think I'm dying to get to like the AARP. When you turn 55, you get discounts and everything. I think that's why I keep pushing for it. But anyway, but it's like I'm on one. Most people my age are on like 6 medications, and that's fucking crazy, bro. It's insane.
Yeah.
Have you ever been a smoker, Mr. Alan Chen?
No. I've smoked if you want to count cigars, I've smoked cigars, but then I stopped because I got sick from them, so I just stopped. But I saw this question. I don't have anything, I guess, medicinal to talk about, but I would invite you to read a book that I recently came across, and I thought it was an excellent book, and it can help with this. Would be Atomic Habits. It teaches you how to not only gain new habits, good habits, but also how to reverse bad habits. So it does the converse as well. So I would invite you to read that book. It's a very short read, and it's actually, I think, only 5 hours on Audible if you read it at 1x speed. You can read it in the car, for example. It gives you a lot of tips as to how to mentally prepare yourself to be able to quit a habit such as smoking that's very addictive.
Right. Yeah.
But it can also help with weight loss too, by the way. That's the other thing. So yeah, great book.
So I know the book you're talking about. I mean, because I'm a habits coach. Like Crystal and we're not diet coaches, weight loss coaches. We build healthy habits, and the healthy habits translate to weight loss and health.
Yeah.
So I would honestly tell you the same thing. Make sure you're very satiated. Make sure that you get proper hydration. Sleep is going to be an issue when you first start to quit. And things like that. Like, so hang on, somebody's asking for the name of it. If you can pull up the link.
I'll type it up. Yeah.
But there it is, Atomic Habits. But I would prepare yourself to make sure that you're in an environment that is free of the possibility of being around it. It's the same thing for an alcoholic. You don't want to be around other smokers. You don't want to be around other people drinking if you're an alcoholic necessarily.
Yep.
And I know some people can, like some alcoholics can be around other people that drink, but I've got a newsflash for you. I've known quite a few alcoholics in my lifetime, and that does not work out well for most of them. Like the vast majority, they eventually fall off the wagon. And it would be similar to me. Like, I'm not going to do an eating contest. Like, I'm a binge eater, so I'm absolutely not going to do an eating contest, because there's no way in hell I can possibly think that wouldn't trigger my binge eating disorder, which is, I do consider an addiction, which, by the way, 1,773 days today.
Wow.
No binge.
That's what, 4 years?
It is almost, it's moving on 5 years. Yeah, it's moving on 5 years. It'll be 5 years on January 17th.
Yep.
5 years.
Damn.
Yeah, it's been wild. And just so everybody, one more time, just to bring her praises, my wife is the reason why I haven't binged. My wife is actually the person that figured out all the habits and stuff like that. She's the one that figured out the 75-20-20 protocol. I just add the swear words. So that's all I do. Yeah. There's a product known as Foom that's supposed to help. Can't recommend from a personal experience.
Yeah,
I'm leery about all the products that help. Like there's a product to help heroin addiction. It's called methadone. You know what it is? It's a fucking drug. It's like, and that's, Ozempic is basically the methadone of ultra processed foods. That's really what it is. So. But anyway, man, give everybody a link to you got something coming up here in about 40 minutes. So everybody tell everybody where they can find you. Give them the link.
I'm going to talk about the hypocrisy of the fat acceptance movement thanks to Ozempic. So one good thing that came out of Ozempic is it revealed that for sure. I'm going to kind of go on a rant, and basically in preparation for Thanksgiving, guys, it's just like Alan said before, enjoy it, enjoy your family, talk to your family. It's a great time to talk to your family, and also to help you eat slower too. That helps you eat slower.
Yes.
Just like talk to people physically, enjoy everybody's company, get the dopamine and the oxytocin, and get the hugs in and all that. You know, be cherish your family, cherish your friends. You know, that's a great time to do it, and really take that seriously. But also keep in mind of what you're eating as well. So yeah, I
Yes.
put the link up just now. I'm just gonna kind of rant for about half an hour to 45 minutes. You're all free to comment and ask questions and agree or disagree with me. Just kind of be a chill session. Just kind of just talk about kind of the way health is in our society. Another one of those topics that we are certainly we're going to see evolve over time. We're going to see the effects of how Ozempic's going to pan out long term pretty soon. So buckle up for that one.
Yeah, buckle up. All right, folks. Thank you very much, Alan. Thank you very much, sir. We will be back together next week, if not later on this week. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving yourself, sir, and everybody else. Have a great day. God damn.